Hello and welcome to soccercoachingblog.com. This is part 3 of the interview with Coach Ralph Perez from the University of Redlands. This is going to be a wonderful interview for you to learn from, so let's talk soccer. Let's take you back to a game last season. It was the last game of the regular season. You were playing Whittier College away from home. You had to win the game to win the crown, the championship. You've played us many times. You knew it was going to be a tough game. How did you prepare your players for that game?
Well, I think first of all, the gentleman to my immediate right, Paul Wansley, here has done a great job of bringing Whittier from a team that in our conference was in the bottom of the table to the top of the table, and through their recruiting process has made their team and their program very diligently a tough team to beat. So we knew going there after the year we had in 2009, that was a real disappointment for us because we finished third first time, and Whittier in that year we had 3 overtime matches with them. So we knew going there, the last game of the year, Halloween, conference tournament around the corner.
Big crowd.
We knew that it was going to be great for us, the environment, and we welcomed that. I think that it's nice to play soccer where there's people there to appreciate the game. So we mentally prepared for that, and every time we play at certain grounds, especially at Whittier, it's a little tighter confines there. We assimilate that in our training ground. We never do anything with our normal width. We do everything, if anything, psychologically to get our players to understand the tightness of the field. And I think that what we also tried to do was that we said that, sometimes as much as we want to play an attractive style of play, sometimes the field doesn't permit it. So we felt, hey, take no risk. If we're going to take risks, let's take it in their defensive third, and try to play a little bit differently than we normally did. And for me, Paul, I'd like to say that it's all about the players and your staff putting it all together. But you can devise a great game plan, but if you don't put away your chances, then it's a different game. And that night it just kind of fell together for us, and we were fortunate. I always believe in this great sport. It's a thing where I try to instill in my players, because I am that way, the passion for the game, the enthusiasm. Right. That you need to come with day in, day out. And it's just not on match day, it's every day for training. I need those guys to come to say to themselves that when they walk through the gate for training, and this is the best part of my day, right, most exciting part of my day, and the most enjoyable part of my day is to come out and train. And whatever coach has instilled for us today, we'll just do it to the best of our ability. And I think that's what it is. And I want to say, to go back to coaches, to breaking down tape, coaches, it's a lot of work. Yeah. It's not like something you want to do every week. So for you youth and coaches and college coaches, it's a little different. We have more time with the players. We train. We're doing this 6 days a week, and for youth coaches, it's a little different. But for the high school coaches, yeah, I think you can do some. Even if you don't have the time to edit it, maybe just pick a portion of the game where you think is something important for your players to see. Maybe the last 15 of a half or the first 15. Depending on what you want to get across to them from a coaching point.
Okay, yeah, great stuff there, Ralph. So let's finish off with summarising. If you're a coach watching this now, you've obviously a tremendous amount of experience. What 2 or 3 things could he take from this and say, okay, at my next practice, from now onwards, we're going to do A, we're going to do B, we're going to do C. What things can he or she grab a hold of now and say, that's what I've learned from this, and I'm going to put it into my practice?
I think the first thing, Paul, is that one is to know what you want to do instead of just saying I'm going to wing it.
Right.
I used to do that when I was coaching at Whittier College back in the 70s, because I was a school teacher all day from 7 in the morning till 2:30, and then on my drive from East LA to Whittier, that's when I was planning practice in my head on my drive.
Yeah, I know that.
And that's a difficult thing to do, and I was a young coach, so my experience was less. But I think one is just to prepare what you want to do. 2 is that when you get there, with the right psychological demand from your players, don't just be a person that provides what I call, cones and drills. Right. Just think, okay, we'll do this for X amount of minutes, and now we move on to the next one, and X amount of minutes, and then we move on to the next one. I think you got to coach, you got to teach in training. The practice time is a critical time. So use that time wisely. And then I think you got to always find a time for them to now, because I know that most of you don't have a full-size soccer pitch to train your teams, especially the youth coaches in America. So maybe you have a half, maybe even a quarter of a field. Use whatever space you have, use it wisely, and try to get the most out of it. That's an important thing, because I mentioned that earlier about space. And then finally, the last thing is, I would just say to all of you, what is always going to tell you what you're doing well and not doing well is the game. The game is the tell-all. The match itself will always tell you where you're at, and we'll address those 4 components that I mentioned. You know, you'll see if your players are fit. Can they play the full duration of that time? Secondly, you know, is the mistakes occurring because it's a technical problem, or is it a tactical misunderstanding? And then finally, the 4th element, and I'll use Paul's team in 09. We played 2 matches with them that one we lost in overtime, but we had lost the game even to force it overtime because they scored in the last 2 minutes, and then that repeated themselves again, and it repeated themselves again in 3 consecutive matches. And you know, my talk to the lads after the 3rd one was that when it was going to overtime, I said, hey, obviously we haven't learned our lessons here on how to, you know, hold on to a lead. So now we have to do something and go try to win it again. And that was difficult, but we were fortunate. So I think, you know, that's what I'm talking about, mentality, you know, and talking about, you know, how players can react and how players can, you know, do things. Because I think that for me, I really believe that people can do great things when they're organized and challenged and really committed to wanting to excel in competition. I think sometimes we as Americans have kind of let our youth slide a little bit, I feel, in this 21st century, and I think we really need to make the training demanding, and we need to, because the game demands, and I think that's what we have to do in practice.
Such a fine line between winning and losing, and the games that we've played with Redlands recently have been fantastic games for a neutral to watch, and you know, the game can be cruel as well, and you know, there's some been great performances, and you know, the best team usually does win, but there's times when you get back in the locker room and you think, what just happened there? But that's the beauty of the game. That's why we do this. That's why we're all passionate about it. Okay, Ralph, so just wanted to give you a chance to promote an event that you're involved in next week in Las Vegas. Can you tell us a little bit about the clinic you're doing in Las Vegas?
Well, real quick, one of the things that I was fortunate to be invited to by Tony DeCicco and Ray Reed, their program called Soccer Champions Clinic. They have it in Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, which draws over 1,000 coaches for a weekend. I was impressed with it as a clinician, and I thought to myself, boy, this is something that, you know, being out here in the West region, a lot of our folks can't get to the National Soccer Coaches Convention because it's normally somewhere in the East Coast. We brought this idea and this concept to Las Vegas, and then, like last year we had clinicians like Bruce Arena there. This year we have Ziggy Schmidt from Seattle Sounders. We have Anson Dorrance, who's won 18 national titles with the University of North Carolina. It's going to be March 10th through the 12th in Las Vegas at the South Point. And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. It will give coaches an opportunity to come and for 2 days, from 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, observe someone of those people of that caliber, like a Jerry Smith, a Brandy Chastain, Tony DeCicco, see them do a coaching session with players, and then all you have to do, you're given a manual of their outline, and then you fill in that outline, and all you have to do is really sit there and observe and watch, and then there's also a Q&A with each clinician after. So we thought it would be a great idea, a great concept, a simple concept, and it could help what I call continually educate our coaches in the sport of soccer. So we're in our 2nd year, and it's something that I would love to extend that invitation to anyone who wants to go somewhere and really pick up a series of exercises that could help them in coaching, because some of it is geared for youth specifically, some of it is geared for high school age, and obviously some of it for club. And trust me, I think it's also good because even if you bring in a top clinician, the players are still going to present him the problems that we all have in trying to create that proper picture. So for more information, go to www.soccerchampionsclinic.com. You've got to be quick. It's going to be next Thursday, Friday and Saturday.
So it's definitely worth investing time and effort into that because I'm sure the staff is just tremendous. So Ralph, I want to thank you for your time today. Fantastic words of wisdom, a lot of good information for our soccer community. So again, thanks very much, sir.
Well, Paul, I wish you the best with your endeavors. But I have to be honest to say I won't miss you on the sideline at Whittier because there were Donnybrook games, and I'm glad that you've left in a way because I felt that those games were, like you mentioned earlier, I think those were games that were made for TV. I think they would have been really great games for people to see. And lastly, for the coaches, I just think that, that's how you learn the game, by watching, reading, observing. I've been doing this for quite a number of years now, and I'm still learning. And I just went to this clinic last week, and it was fantastic. I saw Dick Bate from England work, and what a brilliant clinician he was. So I think we're going to make this thing, and we're going to try to make this in Las Vegas every year. And Las Vegas is not a bad place to go to as well for some fun.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and come back and see us sometime. Remember, use the social network buttons above us to spread the word. And let's talk soccer. Thank you.